Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. We are presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We've got our top 5 newcomers in the Big 12 coming up here in about 20 minutes.
Recording stopped.
Okay, easy recording.
Recording in progress.
We're back in progress.
I believe we're recording Jason Scheer. Got to record everything Jason Scheer does, of course. No. Names to know, Big 12 newcomer specialists coming up here in about 15 minutes. But let's talk now with our buddy Jason Scheer from Wildcat Authority. How are you, Jason?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time as always. Big game tomorrow.
Yeah, slightly big game, huh? Just it's probably, I mean, Arizona, Houston. It's the only time they face each other this season. Big 12 title could be on the line if Houston wins. They're in great shape. Arizona still has some more difficult games, but it's a big one on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it comes on the heels, obviously, of Arizona having lost last weekend at Texas Tech at home. Kind of, what do you make of that stretch for Arizona where they lose a couple of games after starting the season 23-0?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably their first obstacle of the season. The game at Kansas, no shame in losing to Kansas. I think Texas Tech is the one that's a little bothersome because it was at home. But when you take a close look at it, it was a close game. They didn't have Koa Pete for the entire second half. They're out Dwayne Aristote, who's a rotation player. So they're banged up a little bit. They're a little bit sick right now. They were able to bounce back against BYU. But, I mean, it's their first adversity, and I think everyone was kind of looking to see how they would handle it, and they handled it pretty well. And in the Big 12, it doesn't get easier now.
Jason, when I look at Arizona, I guess my question is, because they looked invincible for, basically the entire season. How have they lost? What has cost them in the losses?
I think teams basically have said, we're going to put 4 guys with a foot in the paint and make you shoot outside. And if you're going to shoot inside, we're going to try to make it a little bit more, inefficient. And that's what happened. I mean, against Tech, it was a matter of a little bit of both with offense and defense. They had a lot of difficulty stopping JT Toppin once Koa Pete went out with an injury. And Texas Tech did a really good job. And, Arizona was up in that game, and Tech went on a 9-0 run at the end because they couldn't find the offense. And Tech, shot a lot of threes, but mostly on that one, it was just they couldn't find a bucket, and they made some bad mistakes. Against Kansas, it was kind of similar. I mean, Kansas is one of the few teams in the country where they start 2, 7-footers at the 4 and the 5, and they put them in the paint, and they did Arizona to score, and Arizona ran into some obstacles offensively. And there's not a lot of teams that can do that strategy with size that's bigger than Arizona, but Kansas was one of them. And with Tech, it was just a matter of not being able to kind of, execute towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, big picture takeaways, do you think that those losses show, where Arizona's susceptible, or do you still look at this team and think, like, yeah, they could overcome some of those susceptibilities and win a national championship?
I mean, I think they can overcome it, but at the same time, it absolutely is the blueprint for beating Arizona. You clog the paint, and you try to force Arizona to shoot. Now, BYU did the same, and Kevin Young, their coach, straight up said, we said if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to hit threes, and then Arizona goes 9 of 20 from 3, and they win the game. It's a situation where if you're a team playing Arizona, you don't really have a choice. You can't play them straight up defensively because they're too big and too good inside, so you have to sag off completely, and not a lot of teams can do that. Like, for instance, if you're a mid-major in the tournament, there's no way you can do that because you don't have the size overall. A team like Kansas is going to be successful. So I think it's on a game-to-game basis, but I expect pretty much every team from here on out to do a pretty similar strategy.
Jason Scheer joins us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. When you look at the game tomorrow, ultimately, how does Arizona get a win? Houston's won like 51 of 52 at the Fertitta Center. Is this I guess in terms of the way Houston plays, could this be a favorable matchup? These two teams to us look like carbon copies of one another.
It's funny because the recipe for beating Houston is pretty clear. The problem is no one can do it. And it's you stop them from offensive rebounding and you take care of the ball. That's how they beat you. And, in their losses, if you look at their losses this season, there's not many of them, but The team takes care of the ball. Like Iowa State only turned the ball over 3 times, and then they offensive rebound. They are really, really difficult to beat at home. They're a very good team. Arizona, if they turn the ball over, they have no chance. They have to take care of the ball, and they have to rebound well. Missing Koa Pete on the glass and inside is going to hurt them significantly. But at the same time, they do match up well at other positions. It's a tough game, but it's not like out of the realm of possibility that Arizona wins. They match up well at multiple positions. It's just a matter of can they take care of the ball? Can they find enough scoring and attack the glass?
What is the situation with Koa Pete, and can this team win a national championship without him?
They cannot win a title without him. I think he's a huge part of this team.
Agreed.
It's a calf strain from what we understand. Tommy Lloyd said the other day after the BYU game, it's not a season-ending deal. I think a lot of it is also being careful. I mean, Koa Pete's a guy where he played his last 2 high school games of his career with a broken hand because he wanted the state title. So if he's out, it's either bad or, from what I understand, the coaching staff is saving him from himself. It's like, look, it's February. There's bigger goals in college basketball. I expect him to be out a week or so, another week or so, but they're not going to bring him back any sooner than he needs to be brought back. But he will be playing. I would be very surprised if he's not back for the Big 12 tournament.
Jason, I'm curious, how do you think Tommy Lloyd would be handling Darren Peterson in that situation at Kansas? And what's your opinion on what KU should do about Peterson?
It's a tough situation on the KU aspect because you've got a player that is so talented. And if you just kick him off the team, it could resonate with other 5-star prospects. People pay attention and all that. At the same time, it's hard. Tommy Lloyd is someone I don't think I've ever heard Tommy Lloyd throw a player under the bus. He does not do it. And so I'm guessing he would, do something similar to after they played at Kansas and they lost. He got like 2 Darren Peterson questions, and then he said, look, this isn't about Darren Peterson. Kansas is a really good team. And I think he would do something similar if it was his team, where being like, look, guys, we have, 8 other guys. Let's, Darren Peterson's going through it. Let's love him. He needs support and all that because he's a different type of coach. It's a tough situation because he's so talented that even when he's playing like 18 minutes, he's scoring 20 points. So if I'm Bill Self, though, me personally, and I know this, some people agree, some people disagree. I think you're at the point in late February where you got to sit him down and say you're in or you're out. Because I think that there's a lot of value this time of year in consistency, where even if you're like, look, you're going to give me 20 minutes a game, and even from there, if you play more, that's great. But I got to at least know I'm going to get 20 minutes a game from you. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, you can manage the 20 minutes or whatever it is, I think it becomes easier to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm to the point and have been where I feel like Kansas should move on. And even if it says something to other 5-stars, like I'm fine with that. Because, this has been –
because you don't want it to happen again.
Yeah, and like as much as I'd love for Kansas to add Tyron Stokes, like there's definitely some talks about he's similar in that way. And, I think like this is indicative of agents being involved now from an earlier period of time. And Jason, I'm sure you see this. Like, there was a unspoken rule for agents forever that you didn't go after high school kids. But now you're playing a losing game if you're an agent and you're not. So like they're involved earlier and earlier. So, like just the prospect of having these guys more rested and not having as much wear and tear over the course of the rest of high school and into college is something that agents are probably more and more heavily involved with because they're trying to play to the best interest of their client, and as they should. We're talking about literally hundreds of millions of dollars here versus a couple of million at this college level, which I get that that's a lot of money for us, but like Darren Peterson is staring directly at hundreds of millions of dollars in NBA money in the future.
I actually respect the situation more if Darren Peterson just straight up said, look, I've had some cramp issues. I want to be cautious. I'm shutting it down.
Yeah,
I think
totally
I think everyone would understand it.
Yeah.
Like, look, I get it. You're making more money than all of us. I totally get it. Thank you for being honest. But when you go and he's got cramps and then he doesn't do anything on the bench, and then all of a sudden his agent is behind the bench talking to the associate AD in the middle of the game, something's fishy. Like it's not going to sit right with a lot of people, and it shouldn't. So it's at the point where, if Bill Self went to him and like, look, you're in or out. That's it. Like I need to know, especially this time of year. and he says I'm out, I would actually understand it more than what he's doing.
Yeah, and I the reason I love to get the Arizona perspective is you've got Koa Pete, who's going to be a lottery pick. You've got Braden Burries, who was battling an illness before the BYU game and still played 30 minutes in that game. So can you add anything from the Arizona side and how they're handling those freshmen and Tommy Lloyd dealing with agents and families and everything else that comes with the five-star prestige?
Yeah, I think these guys are just different too. Like with Burries and Pete. I mean, Pete comes from a family of athletes. I mean, and NFL players and all that. And again, like they're having to save him from himself a little bit right now. If it was up to him, he would be limping up and down the court. He's just a different guy. And Braden's the same way. I mean, Braden's dad handles a lot of his stuff, and he's awesome. The dad is just an awesome guy. And, Braden has an IV right after the game the other night and has the flu. And, it just toughs it out. And I think that's one of the things that have made these guys so successful. Tommy's done a great job with agents. I legitimately haven't heard of any internal strife since he's been here with agents and stuff like that. And that's unique. And I think he has good relationships with certain agents. And, he does not get involved in circus recruitments. Tommy will not do it. He won't get involved in bidding wars or circus recruitments. Team culture and building and all that is extremely important to him. So up until this point, if, with like a guy like Stokes, for instance, if it seems like it's going to be a circus or going to be a hassle in that regard, he won't go anywhere near the recruitment. And so that's why I think that culture has been successful for him so far.
Jason Scheer, Wildcat Authority. Jason, always appreciate your time and insight, man. Thank you so much. Be well.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you. Jason Scheer joining us here, Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. He mentioned Tommy Lloyd kind of staying away from the fray. I mean, look, in our conversations with Kelvin Sampson, go back and listen to some of those interviews. He talks about, he's recruiting the parents as much as he's recruiting the players. He talked about like when, in the recruitment process, the parents are as much involved in, but once they're on my team, the parents are out.
Right.
I'll do as much as I can to be a parental figure to them, but so like right away you can tell that like Darren Peterson is never a guy that he's going to recruit.
Yeah, and A.J. DeBonsa in the BYU Arizona game. I mean, you look at BYU and it is DeBonsa and Wright, and that's all they have left. They've been decimated by injuries. DeBonsa played 39 minutes the other night against the most physical basketball team in America. And he scored 28 points and probably helped his draft stock. And his dad is very involved. He's courtside at every game, but he doesn't get in the way of what Kevin Young is doing with that basketball program. Koa Pete's another great example of a guy that he's beat up right now. He's going to miss a couple of games, but his family, they get it. Dad played over a decade in the NFL. All 7 of Koa Pete's siblings play or played collegiate athletics.
Including his brother, Andrews Pete, who's, I believe, still an offensive lineman in the NFL.
Yep, still an offensive lineman. Todd Sr. played 9 seasons in the NFL. He has a brother who currently plays football at Arizona State. He has a sister that played basketball at Texas Tech. Wow. He's got another brother that played basketball at Michigan State and one more brother that played football at Nebraska. So, like, they know the business side of it. They know when to step in, when to back off. And then just Braden Burries. He was battling the flu this week, and he played 30 minutes against BYU. They weren't sure if he was going to be able to go. And he played 30 minutes? Like, that is what fans want to see from their guys.
Yeah,